Welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. If what you're after is having it all, if what you desire is becoming the best version you can be across all areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best of the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, knowledge, experience, and skills so that you can go out and crush it financially and across all areas of your life. Grab pencil and paper, sit back, enjoy, and you are welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hello, Modern Kings and Queens. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview some of the most successful real estate investors from around the world to provide you with the tool sets, mindsets, and skill sets for you to be able to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can achieve financial freedom, so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. Today, I'm excited to interview and have here with me George Roberts. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into introducing him to you. Before devoting himself to commercial real estate full-time, George worked as an award-winning data scientist and bioscientist with over 700 citations in the fields of genomics. Is that how you say it, man? Genomics. All right. Microbiology and physiology. So he's a smart guy. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And deciding that he didn't look handsome in a lab coat, he turned his attention into the dashing world of entrepreneurship. And George is the founder of Walnut Grove Homes, an upscale residential construction company based from Michigan that reached the seven-figure status in 2021. And he's also the principal at Horizon Multifamily, which sponsors value-add multifamily opportunities in the Southeast for qualified passive investors. And in addition to his over 300 units as an active investor, he's also a passive investor, and he has hundreds of investments. He has also a podcast called the Foundry, where leaders are forged daily, which I'm excited to talk about. And he hosts a commercial real estate investing networking meeting every single week on Zoom. So I'm excited about that resource as well. And I'm excited to talk a bit more about your journey and your story, George, with you. And thank you very much for being here, man. And you're welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Alex.
So, George, the first thing that I do with my guests, man, is I ask them to walk us through their real estate investing journey in 75 seconds or less.
All right, let's hit it. So I started out as an accidental landlord in 2010. Kept the family home and decided to buy a new one because homes were cheap. It made sense to do so. In 2016, I helped my sister and brother-in-law found Walnut Grove Homes. That's our construction company and our family construction business that operates to this day. But I realized I really wasn't satisfied. Although I love the world of entrepreneurship, I really needed to have my own gig. And so I looked to multifamily real estate as an opportunity for me to branch out and to strike out on my own. I love value add multifamily, and I've been in this space for 3 years now. I do syndicate deals, and I love the business. I love teaching people. I love bringing people together. I'm a connector. So if you see some value that I can add for you, let me know, and I'll be happy to get you with the right people.
Hello, Modern Kings and Queens. At my company, Millionaire Network Automation, we believe in the power of networking. We believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why we help real estate investors raise capital by connecting them with their ideal investors and helping them build a massive network of their ideal investors in less than 30 days and with only 4 hours of work per week. If you're interested in this, click the link below in the description of this podcast to learn how you can propel your growth with a reliable system that will consistently help you connect with your ideal investors, build trust, add value, get your investors to promote you and put you in front of more of their investor friends, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that you can achieve your financial freedom and still have the time and the energy to pour into every single other area of your life. So go watch the training, and you're going to have the opportunity to book a call to talk about how you can get this 100% done for you system implemented in the next 5 days. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later, and enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. Awesome. I want to talk about that last thing that you said. You're a connector, right? So I know that that is your superpower, connecting, right? Bringing people together. So can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that? Like, and maybe tell me a story for an example. And then after that, right? Let's talk about the importance of connecting and what being a connector and networking, the importance of that in this industry, in this business.
Well, sure, connection matters in every business. Even when I was a bioscientist, I noticed that the most successful people were not the ones that just had their heads down or their nose to the grindstone at the scientific bench. They're the people who get out and talk to other people. That's how you get unstuck. So if connecting and networking makes a big difference in a career like science, it's 10 times more important in something like commercial real estate, where you have so many moving parts. You've got to get a lender, you've got to have title involved, you need property management, and you assemble these large teams to put together the capital and to manage the asset. This has got to be the number one business where networking matters more than anything, because every interaction, or I should say every new deal, is a new team. And so the ability to put those teams together, to keep your reputation in a sterling level, and be willing to put people together and to know where you belong on the team, these are all very important things.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that bringing people together and putting people together is one of your specialties, man. So could you walk me through how that looks like for you? And
Or for me,
because I
I
mean,
love people. So Alex, I just
okay,
love people, and that makes it very natural for me. I run two in-person meetups every month in Michigan. Every week, I have my online Zoom meetup, CRE Network at noon. And I've had such great experiences meeting people in this business. When I was new and I knew a little bit about construction, I knew about data scientists, I knew what to do to analyze data, and I didn't really know what it was like to own a multifamily asset or how to run it. The people I met were so very friendly and so very informative. The only thing to do is just to pay it forward. And so, in such a friendly environment as that, I just tend to reach out a lot, and I take on mentoring roles, and so people send me deals, and that's really how the connecting business works. People send me their deals. It either works for me, and I try to put together a team and we take it down together. Or if that doesn't work for some reason, maybe the timing isn't right, then I just love to put people together, because I don't want to see a good deal go to waste. I want to be a part of everything. And if I can't close the deal with somebody, then I want to send them to somebody who can.
for sure. Okay, that makes sense. And you mentioned two networking events. You host two networking events in Michigan. So and you mentioned the CRE network. What is that about? Like, what's the format of that networking event? When is it? What time is it? And who is it for?
Right. So it's the commercial real estate networking at noon Eastern. We do it through Zoom, and it's all about breakout rooms. So whereas a lot of these groups, you've got speakers, and that's wonderful. It's a great format, but that makes it very formal. And you have to wait quite a while before you actually get to meet the people and ask the questions and make the deals. So I like to focus on deal making, whether it's my weekly Zoom or my in-person meetups. I want to get people together, learn about what we do, find the synergies, and then make the deals happen. So it's all about making deals happen. And I say it's no fluff, no fuss. We just get into breakout rooms, we learn about each other, and see how deals can be made.
Okay, nice. Um, so basically, so is that on Zoom every week at noon?
Yeah, every week. And the best way to find out about it, just connect to me on LinkedIn. That's where I run it. And I'll be happy to send you a link, or you can reach out to me, George at horizonmultifamily.com.
All right. And then for the in-person meetups, man, where are those? And then same thing, like commercial real estate, right?
Yeah, all about commercial real estate. So look, I focus on multifamily, but I want to open it up because I feel that there's so much in the commercial real estate field. It's very broad. and you got to focus to be good at what you do. However, you can always branch out in many ways. You can also branch out as a limited partner. And I invest in all kinds of things. I invest in early stage companies like Shark Tank. I do private equity. I'm invested in a drug rehab facility as a triple net deal, my first. And I love to know what's out there, and I love to help inform people about what's out there. So I think that you don't want to just necessarily stay where you're at, learn about the entire array of opportunities that exist, and figure out what makes most sense for you.
Hmm. Awesome. Um, so talking about like informing people, educating people, and just giving value back, just like you got it when you first got into this industry. You have a podcast, right? Called the Foundery, I think it's called,
Yes, the
where
founder,
leaders
where
are
leaders are
forged.
forged daily.
And do you interview people there, or what is that podcast about, man?
So it is an interview format just like this. And I talk about leadership, entrepreneurship, and mindset. We've expanded that a little bit here as we start our third season, talking a lot about different facets of commercial real estate and different alternative assets. I just love to introduce people to all that exists out there and also macroeconomics. As we've seen, there's a lot going on in the macroeconomic space these days. You really got to know about it. And if you don't understand it, you're at a huge disadvantage. So that's what it's all about. And that's sort of how we got to the present day. Just we're looking at the needs of the listeners and trying to give people what they're looking for.
Hmm. Awesome. Um, so let's. Do you have any current deal that you're working on right now?
Well, I've got a whole bunch. Nothing I can really talk about because nothing I've got locked up under contract. But rest assured, people are sending me deals all the time. So at any one time, I've probably got at least one LOI open and looking forward to getting the next one under contract.
All right. So people are sending you deals all the time. So like a huge part in commercial real estate investing, right? Multifamily real estate investing is finding deals. So how are you able to get people to send you deals all the time, man?
Well, it has a lot to do with the networking. I did put a lot of effort into the networking so that I could raise capital. Well, then that got me to the next stage. I started going on panels, and going on different panels is really how you get introduced to people. So I went on a couple of sponsor panels, and there's a group that I'm pretty closely allied with, and that's the group that sends me most of the deals that I see these days. But again, going out of the podcast circuit, having my own podcast, all these channels are all very valuable.
What about brokers? Have you seen brokers to be of value to you?
Well, brokers are definitely a value. It's not really the way that I went. We all start out, I think, the same way. We listen to the gurus and say, hey, get 100 units and up, and that's a great way to go. But that works a whole lot better if you're in a guru's program. Okay. If you're not with a guru or you don't know somebody who can help you close those very big deals, what happened along the way is that we found a 14 units and we had a real home run with that deal. So I decided, hey, look, go ahead, go look for those 100, 200, 3 unit deals. But guess what? When something good comes along, when you see that fat pitch coming your way, don't hesitate to take a swing at it. Just because it isn't what you're looking for doesn't mean you shouldn't hit it. And so again, we had a real grand slam on that. And then from there, I started working on some medium and large deals as well. So basically for me, I just started to specialize in a different direction. I started to specialize in these sort of mom and pop deals. A lot of those don't have a broker involved. That's one of the things that makes them so great. And then again, just getting out there so much. When I got to the point where I see, hey, people are sending me deals. Why don't I just spend
Hmm.
more time focusing on underwriting something that's already passed the first test? I like that a lot better than working on the brokers. But I mean, we've also worked with deals that have come to us through brokers, and they've been great as well.
Hmm. So so most of the people that listen to this podcast, man, are either aspiring real estate investors, right? Or people who are playing the game, who are playing the game and who are working on finding deals, analyzing deals, underwriting deals, raising capital every single day. So they're actually real estate investors. So either they're aspiring or they're actually putting in the work. Um, but either way, people who listen to this podcast are people who have chosen to use real estate as their wealth creation vehicle, right? And a lot of them are interested in raising capital. Right now, you said that you really put a lot of a lot of effort into building your network so that you could raise capital. And I think that could you walk me through like that journey of building a massive network so that you could raise capital? Could you walk me through that journey? Because I think there's some gems that we could uncover there, and which might be valuable to all the people that will be listening to this.
Sure, like many people, I read the best ever book on real estate investing, and it tells you that you got to go out and make your thought leadership program. Well, to me, that was just the next step. Tell the truth, I probably should have thought it through a lot because it will change your life. I know you know this, Alex. I see your podcast is very well thought out. I see what you're trying to do here and what you're working to accomplish, and it's amazing. Once you make the choice to become a podcaster, again, it changes your life. It's a huge time commitment. So I just decided that, look, nobody else in my group wanted to do that. We need to raise capital. So I'm going to be the one to do it. So I took that fateful step. I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it, but I do want to say make it a conscious decision. Make sure that you are fully committed because it's a real shame to get out there and make 7 or 10 or 15 episodes and then decide that it's not for you. That's a huge investment of time. I want to make sure that people who do this make sure it's something you really want to follow through with. Well, once I did, I realized I loved it. And I think, many of the same motivations as you. Part of it is selfish. I want to learn. I want to meet the best minds in real estate. And this is how I do it. I also know that my podcast is creating a lot of value for people because I meet people. They come to me and tell me that my podcast is an important part of their education. But over
Yeah.
time, what really kept me in, though, is the quality of the relationships that I make through podcasting. So, started out with the podcast, then COVID sort of opened up. We were finally allowed to have in person meetings in Michigan. We were one of the last places where that happened. And it was another great facet to things. I love meeting people. And again, for me, it's just so easy because I love people. Everything I do is all about people, whether it's the content I create for LinkedIn, my videos on YouTube, or the podcast. It's been an amazing journey.
Okay, so then your podcast has been a crucial or an important component of helping you build a network so that you can raise capital then.
Absolutely. And for other things too. I've interviewed people that are great underwriters, like Vesi Kaplian, and I know people who can tell me amazing things about what's going on in macroeconomics, like Chris Galizio. I've been exposed
Yeah.
to amazing people like Pace Morby and his approach to multifamily, which is very different than most people, who's going out there and sometimes even doing no money down with multifamily deals. I would not have met these people and I would have not had such great in-depth conversations with a podcast. Without a doubt, it's been a huge part of my own development.
Same here, man. I've connected with over 250 like high net worth, really smart and successful individuals that I would never have gotten the chance to connect with them if I didn't have a podcast, right? Just because I say that I have a podcast, now they're able to give me an hour of their time and have me ask them anything that I want, right? So yeah, it has been really impactful for me, not just when it comes to education and personal development and networking, but also to like find partnerships. Actually, I'm a real estate developer right now, man, and I don't know anything about real estate development, right? What I do know about though is like networking and raising capital. So like that is the value that I bring to this real estate development firm. And the way that I was able to connect with this firm was through a podcast connection, right? They ended up liking what I do, and then we became partners. So um, I definitely know what a podcast using podcasting as a networking tool can do for you. So yeah, that was a great insight. So I know you have a book, right? The Multifamily Investor Guide to Financial Freedom. Tell me about that, George.
That's something you can find on my website if you head out to www.horizonmultifamily.com or www.robertscapitalenterprises.com. Most people have a 10-page loss leader. It's got about 50 words. There's about 5 words on each page. And these are great.
Yeah.
And people, I think we've got very short attention spans, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to put out something that's book length. So I would say if you guys are interested in learning about multifamily real estate, you're new, go to the website right now and download it. Actually, don't do it right now. Watch the rest of this interview. but as soon as it's over, go and download it. And you're going to see that I'm putting out a lot of information, a lot of value for people because I saw something lacking. Now, the reason I say do it now, or at least after the episode, is that eventually I would like to probably take this onto Amazon, right? So get it while you can. And someday you will come to my website and you're only going to get a 10-page loss link.
Yeah.
So the idea is I want to make it easy for people,
So,
whether you're active or passive. I want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to go forward. That means you got to understand the basic finance. You got to understand what real estate's all about. Got to understand what's different about multifamily and understand the mechanics of it. If you want to invest in alternative assets, what do you need to do? For most people, you've got to go get your self-directed IRA. So I walk you through that and tell you what I've done with mine and how it's changed my life.
nice. All right. And who is this book for? Because being part of this real estate investing industry, I know that, and this is a huge lesson for me, that a lot of real estate investors that I meet have like a niche, like an ideal investor avatar, like a certain specific type of people that they focus on getting them to invest, right? And I've seen that being a capital raiser works almost as like selling a product. So you gotta have a niche, and then you gotta like master your niche and master being able to get those people to invest in your deals, right? Do you have that? Do you have like an ideal investor avatar, like a specific type of person that you target, or are you like more broad?
So I have to say I've gone broad. I can't say that's necessarily the best way to do things. Anybody who understands marketing will tell you that you have to focus on that avatar. I would imagine that people who have been in tech like me would reach out to me. And that's one of the things I'm doing with my data scientist of real estate. That's my YouTube channel and that's my persona. So I like to go out there and explain macroeconomics, housing economics, and the mechanics of investing in alternative assets to people. But I really have found people from all over. So I got to say, I decided to be a generalist and it's been okay for me. But again, I'm not your digital marketer genius, so
Hmm.
may not be the
Okay.
best person to ask.
All right. And George, so I know you may know a lot about economics and everything. So how do you see the market right now? Like, where's it at in your perspective?
Right, so we're recording this towards the end of April 2023, and what I'm seeing is that rates are starting to tick down. We know that inflation is coming down, and I think that we may be in store for some stagnating prices for some time. We may see prices slide a little longer. I've been telling everybody that we're not going to have a crash this time, and I think that's been very much borne out by what we've seen so far. With seeing interest rates beginning to tick down a little bit, we don't know how 2023 will end up. We might even see prices starting to rise. And if we do enter recession, we know that that's going to have multifarious effects. It's going to make it harder for people to pay their rents. But at the same time, if rates go back down and we still remain in a housing crisis, which, by the way, we have been in a bit of a housing crisis for well over a decade. We're tremendously underbuilt. Then we may see prices continue to rise for quite some time.
Hmm. And what does that mean for real estate investors?
Well, I think that people need to be very agile right now. I mean, I wish I could say I have a crystal ball, but I don't. You need to be very careful to focus on what's going on in macroeconomics and across the real estate spectrum. So I'll give you some examples. I'm right now looking to refinance one of my apartments. And at one point, for example, we saw a huge spread, like 80 basis points between yield maintenance and a step down if you're looking for an agency loan. You got to keep your eyes on things like that. You got to talk to lenders. There's no way that you as an investor are going to know half as much about lending as even a decent lender. So you're going to have to get out there and pay attention to things like this. So, what does it mean for real estate investors? I think you got to keep your eyes on the statistics. When I say that we're underbuilt, I mean, again, it's been since 2006 that we've had over 1.5 million completions. Now we've had, as of April, 3 months only 3 months that we had 1.5 million completions or more. We know that when we have a recession, and a recession is coming, it's always coming. We know this. It's only a matter of timing. We know that builders reduce the number of units they build. And so we can expect that we may come out of this, we're going into this recession, whenever it comes, underbuilt, and we're certainly going to come out of it underbuilt.
Mm, okay. So then that is opportunity, right? Well, I mean, there's opportunity. What opportunity do you see in that though?
Well, you did ask me about who's my ideal limited partner, but maybe this would be a good time if I pivot and tell you what kind of deals I'm looking. So for me, I love more and more the mom and pop deals, the sort of deals that come direct from seller with seller financing. Because what this allows me to do is allows me to buy properties that are under optimized. They're probably below market rent. So I've got a cushion if the market goes down. I can do value add strategy without having to take on variable debt, which again, I think people now believe that rates are going to basically sort of stagnate, maybe come down. I mean, who knows? There are some people who believe that inflation is not cured yet. I mean, I'm certainly I'm among those people. I also see that our economy is going to take a tumble soon. And so I think we're going to come. But the point of the matter is, even though I think that rates will either go roughly sideways or down from here, I'm not taking on any variable debt right now. So I love anything that comes with seller financing, mom and pop, small stuff, tertiary markets. I think this is where you're going to find the gems because you got a lot of people turning over a lot of rocks in markets like Atlanta, Dallas, Fort Worth, Orlando. If you're in those markets, you got to work really hard to find a deal. Now, if you're willing to look a little bit off the beaten path, I think it's a lot easier to find those deals.
Okay. That come from directly from the seller, and then may be a little bit smaller, but are like juicy and have a lot of and are full of opportunity. That is your experience, right?
Exactly. It's all about the meat on the bone. Look, if I got a small deal that has a lot of meat on the bone, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. For sure, definitely. Um, Awesome. So, have you ever thought about because I think you said you always take on a mentor role, right? So, what do you mean by that? Have you been like coaching others on how to get started in real estate investing,
Sure.
or
So I
no?
don't have a formal coaching program, but I do mentor. It something comes natural to me. I came from an academic environment, so I used to teach. I love teaching. I love my YouTube channel. Love to explain complex topics, make them simple, and break them down. So that's something that to me, I think was basically inevitable. Again, it's nothing formal, but it will be formal at some point. So get into the ground floor. If you got deals to send me, I'm still very hungry and I will take a look.
Okay, awesome. So, is there anything before I end my podcast with a couple of questions that I do want to ask, and I want to make sure we have time to ask them all. But is there anything that you want to just tell the audience, all of these people who are looking to build wealth through real estate? Is there anything that you want to, any message that you want them to get from you?
Sure, I know you mentioned that you do 5 things on this podcast. I don't think I can rattle them off, but I am all about being the Renaissance man. Look, I exercise all the time. As far as the mental aspect, I practice the mental and emotional aspect. I practice stoicism. The spiritual for me is Christianity. My marriage and my kids come first. So I love what you're doing on this podcast. I think it's so important to be well balanced. If you're not healthy, you've got nothing.
Hmm. Yeah, and then it's about having it all right, but yet we've been told our entire lives, and it's so rare to actually come across a man that has it all, right? That is like four dimensional, right? You sometimes see them, you either see like a jacked guy who like has an amazing body but is broke, right? Or like
Right.
someone who has a lot of money but doesn't have anyone to share it with, or someone who has a lot of money and has people to share it with that love him, but doesn't have the health to actually be able to enjoy it. And I'm all about like I call that being a modern king. So you call it being a residence man. I call it being a modern king. I used to call it being a modern gentleman, but I came across a throne, right? And I was like, oh, I like that, right? And there was once I was in a hotel. I was in a hotel from one of my partners, and like they were just treating me like a king, right? And then they were treating him like a king, and like he was the owner of the hotel, and I saw how they everyone served this him because he was like the owner of the hotel, and I was like, damn, that's when I realized leverage. That's when I realized because like you know when you talk about leverage, you talk about money, how you can leverage money, right? Other people's money. You can also leverage other people's time and other people's skills. And that's when I realized the power of leveraging other people's time and skills. So he had all of these people working for him, you know, running the hotel. He didn't even have to do anything. And like they were serving him. And it was like he was a king. And then a couple of days later, and I was like, damn, like the key to business is being like a king and just putting all the people in place who are going to push everything forward. And then a couple of days later, I came across a throne and now I use it, right? And I like that, and I'm gonna keep it, and I'm gonna keep on moving this mission forward. But yeah,
I
I
love that
definitely do
mission.
work
And
on every
somebody
single
like
area of my life.
Henry Ford, he didn't know everything. If he tried to know everything, he would have never gotten where he got to be. And he knew that he could call on somebody in 15 minutes that knew more about just about anything than he ever could. And that was the key to his success. He started out Ford Motor
Henry
Company
Ford.
as an engineer, right? Yeah, he was tinkering. He was doing the engineering at first. He got his stuff to work and then he hired the right people. So he did things the right way. He used his skills to get the company far enough that he could begin to delegate. And as soon as he could, he did.
Mm, which is the key to business. But a lot of entrepreneurs find that lesson too late, right? Or either too late, so they failed, right? Like they failed the company and they went bankrupt, or they are, you know, overworked and burnt out. But yeah, man, that I've found that that is the key to success. And a lot of that's
Yeah.
actually what holds most people back from going into multifamily real estate, thinking that they need to know how to do everything, but they don't. All you gotta do is like partner with people who do and have a good enough skill set to be able to complement them as well.
Yeah. Don't be the chief everything officer. Just know your lane.
Hmm. The chief, what you said?
Chief everything officer. That's what happens to
Oh,
people, right?
okay.
They think, hey, I got to do everything. No, you don't. You got to be very good at some things, and you have to be able to find people to do everything else so you can continue to get better at the things you're good at.
Hmm. Exactly. So, George, the first question that I have for you, man, is what is a false belief that you had, or maybe that you see a lot of beginner multifamily real estate investing beginners have that holds them back, apart from the one that we just mentioned?
Oh, sorry, that's the one I wanted to mention because I started out doing everything myself and feeling that was the way to go. And I think that it's not a terrible way to begin, but you have to branch out quickly. If you learn, like I say, I like to learn the entire array of what's out there and then branch out. So as far as a different false or limiting belief that I started with, I think is maybe kind of obvious or trivial in this business is that, it's too big. I can't take it on, right? And again, I guess the answer is the same. You just find a way to get the right team and you can take down any size asset.
Hmm. For sure. Just get the right people in place, doing the right things, and you can take down any asset. I like that. And then how do you find the right people? Well, networking, right? And we already mentioned a bunch of ways that you could do that. So you could attend George's event, like virtual events every single week, the meetup, the commercial real estate networking meetup every single week, or you can go to one of his in-person events that he hosts as well. And to have access to any of that, to learn more about any of that, you can go to his website. What is your website, George?
So www.horizonmultifamily.com.
Awesome. The other question is, what is an empowering belief, right? And now let's flip it. What is an empowering belief that you see a lot of successful real estate investors have?
Well, I would say confidence. It's a confidence born out of integrity. You got to do what you say. And to do that, you got to learn to focus, you got to learn to delegate, and you have to learn to prioritize. So realize that you're more powerful than you realize you are today. And you need to set goals and stick to them because you'll know when you are doing less than you're capable of. So you just got to build yourself up every day You've got to make a plan and stick to it. I like to have three things. So I like to write it on a sticky. What are the three things for today that if I am able to accomplish, that I've had an extraordinary day? And then I do exactly what's on that sheet.
Nice. I like that. Confidence comes from integrity, which is keeping your word to yourself, like actually doing what you say you're going to do. Um, and you know what, George? Let me just share with you a little bit. It might be interesting for you because it was interesting to me. Um, there was one time that I did something that I wasn't too proud of, right? And I felt guilt and shame, and I felt all of that guilt. You know where guilt and shame is felt? Well, it's felt here, right? And like your emotions are not in your mind, your emotions are like felt in your body. That is like proven, right? And I felt the guilt and the shame here, right? Like here on my chest. And then I just like focused on it. And I literally got my body to talk to me, and I knew exactly why I was feeling like that, right? And exactly how to solve it. Um, the reason that I'm telling you this is because I think, and it's just like a something that I think, a theory, that the people that are like this, right, like that are walk around like this, like with their shoulders like that, and they're just they have a bad posture, and that means like lack of confidence. That sometimes can mean lack of confidence. And the reason they're like that, man, is because when you do things that go in that go against you, to get it going against who you believe yourself to be, right? Things that cause you to feel guilt and shame, you're gonna feel a lot of that guilt and shame right here. And the more you feel like that, you tend to, get in this position so that you can protect yourself. So the people that are walking around like this is because they do a lot of things that makes them feel guilt and shame. And that's why they're like that, because it's like they're like protecting themselves. I don't know, that's a theory, but that's something I realized the other
Let
day.
me share one thing with you, maybe on a different approach to the same goal, is that the American Indians, they have a saying that if you live every day as free as a bird, you will not fear death. And you have to realize this is the only life you are ever going to get to live. This day, you have only one chance to live this day. And when you are truly living, I get it. Alex, everything changes. Your physiology changes, the way you stand, the way you speak to people. Just realize you don't want to be on your deathbed saying, I wish I would have went for it.
Yeah, for sure. So the third question, George, is building relationships and networking is key to be successful in the real estate investing game, raising capital, finding deals, and all of that. So, what networking strategy or advice would you give on that?
Quality, not quantity. If I go to a networking event, if I meet one individual and I'm able to get one deal, or I'm able to get one valuable idea that I can implement, that's more important than shaking hands with every hand in the room. So you want to make sure that you are going in deep. Look for that synergy, listen deeply. You're given one mouth but two ears, and it's for a reason, because we learn by listening, not by speaking. So make sure that you're forging the deepest connections possible when you go out and network.
Awesome. Um, so the next question is, what are the top three things that a commercial multifamily real estate investor should be focusing on every single day
Well, you're always going to want to focus
to
on
move the needle?
self-development, no matter what you're doing. So make sure you're developing yourself. If you spend 1 hour a day reading, that will be the best hour spent. You're not going to feel it today or tomorrow or a week from now, but a month, 2 months, and 6 months from now, you are going to be hugely more successful. So focus, focus, focus. And the best way to focus is on reading, because what somebody's put into a book, they have spent so many hours refining. It's not like, I don't mean any wrong from this. I'm a podcaster myself, but it's not like a podcast. It's not like a 5-minute YouTube video. It's not like a blog post. That is the most condensed experience that you can get, short of going out there and risking your own capital and making your own mistakes. So a second thing that everyone should be doing every day is, I'm going to say, swallow the frog. What is it that you don't want to do today? Is it that you don't want to get out and call people on the telephone because you don't like cold calling? Is it
Being
because,
rejected.
huh?
Being rejected.
You say if you're introspective? Oh, getting rejected. Got
Being
it.
rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about getting rejected. And I had like 10,000 calls today. My best days are spent on the telephone. Couldn't even tell you how many people I talked to. Property manager. I talked to St. Vincent de Paul, who's going to send me some veterans that want to live in my apartment. And I talk to people. I get money off of my utility bill, okay? Because when I talk to people, and I wasn't, like you said, Alex, I was not afraid to get rejected. I said, what is this bill? It doesn't make sense to me. Explain it to me. And guess what? They're going to bring it down. I also talked to another power company that wants to charge me $1,000 so that they can put up some LED lighting. And you know what? She said, I'll talk to my boss tomorrow and we'll see if we can get that brought down. So exactly, get over that fear of being rejected. So if you're afraid of rejection, then maybe that's what you need to do. Get out there and do the cold calling. There's always somebody who can help you run your business better. You got to get out on the horn and do it. So, okay, so what's a third thing that you should do? So first thing I said is you want to do self-development. Never let execution get in the way of your self-development. Carve out an hour each day, then swallow the frog. Do what you least wish to do. And then for a third thing, I would say just network. Always network. You're always going to learn something. And when you do, again, get out there, make sure you're learning deeply from people.
Awesome. So, the last question, George, is what advice would you give yourself? What piece of advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your journey, if you could? And not that you want to, like, or you need to, right? But like, this can be valuable to me and to anyone listening, to help yourself have a faster, easier, and smoother journey in real estate.
I would tell myself to just know that it's going to be okay. Don't worry about the stumbles. Because when somebody writes your biography, it's going to be written as a narrative. All that anybody cares about is, in the end, what you did right. People are going to go back and they're going to look for what were the antecedents to your greatest accomplishments. Nobody cares about the call that went bad or the podcast that was a little bit awkward. Just get out there and just have confidence. Know that it's going to be okay in the end. Do the right things. Look at what you're doing and how you're training. Don't look at the scoreboard. Look at how you're training.
Awesome. I like that. I really like that. But because people are too worried about what other think people, what they think other people think about them. But in reality, George, um, other people are too busy thinking about what they think other people think about them to even bother to give an opinion. So in reality, like, everyone is in their own head, acting as the protagonist of their own movie, thinking that
Right.
everyone else is thinking of them, right? And nobody's thinking of you, because all the time everyone else was thinking of what you were thinking of them.
Right. Can I tell you something? Somebody told me, this was my neighbor. She says, when you're in your 20s, you worry what your neighbors think about you. When you're in your 30s, you care less about what they thought about you. And when you're in your 40s, you realize they never really cared in the first place. They weren't really
Yeah.
thinking about you. They're dealing with their own problems.
And wouldn't it be awesome, like, to compress that time, and instead of taking you 20 or 30 years to realize that, to like be able to listen to us talking and be like, you know what? I'm gonna stop. No, what? It's not about not caring. It's just about not worrying about it, right? Not
Right.
worrying and being comfortable with having people not like you, because we're not here to be like. We're just here to try to be the best that we can be, and then have the people that resonate with that version of us resonate with that version of us.
You're absolutely right, Alex. And there's no reason why having wisdom should be associated with a white beard or having a hunched over back, right? There's no reason why you have to wait. Wisdom, I think, comes from not necessarily age or time, but from experience. And if you seek it, you'll find it. That's why I'm huge on stoicism. Rather than caring so much about what people think of me or looking at the scoreboard, it's more important than to worry about whether somebody has contempt for you, to make sure that you're doing nothing contemptible. Focus on your actions, your thoughts, your words. Focus only on what you can directly impact the outcome of. Don't worry what people are thinking of you or whether this or that venture will go bad.
Mhm. Yeah. So it was great advice to finish this podcast with, George. Do you have any last thoughts, any last message that you would like to communicate?
Sure. For anybody who hasn't figured out already, there is one underlying trait for literally every success story in the world. You don't have to go out and read 1,000 biographies. It is determination. You need to build a desire that is greater than your fear, and then go out and make sure that you let nothing get in your way. Everybody stumbles. Everybody stumbles. And all that matters is your determination to pick yourself up. I've seen it 1,000 times in my life. The most successful people, they're not the most intelligent. They're not the richest, had the most advantages in life. They're the ones who pick themselves up 1,000 times.
Exactly, and who are determined to get to their outcome no matter what, right? And it's gonna take them 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, but they're gonna get there.
Absolutely.
So, George, where would be the best place for people to learn more about you? Maybe reach out to you, get on a call or something, or just connect with you in general.
Sure, I love LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. So come find me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message, connect to me, George at horizonmultifamily.com. That's where you can find me now. And again, you find me all over the internet. Come find me on social media, send me an instant message. I'm everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, and you name it. I've even got a YouTube channel.
Awesome. So we'll put the links to all of those things that you mentioned right now, wherever this appears. It was a pleasure having you, George. I'll see you later. Okay.
Thank you so much, Alex. I greatly appreciate what you're doing. You're making a huge impact in the world. It was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate you, and we are super grateful about being part of your journey of becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur and having it all. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will be impacted positively. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be across all areas. And if you thought this episode was really valuable, share it on your social media as a post or a story. We have a special gift for all of those who contribute to the Modern Kings and Queens movement. So for those of you who decided to share this episode and help us spread our message, send me a message letting me know on any social media platform at Alex Ramirez, the Modern King. I have a special surprise for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.